Hey everyone, Andy here. I just want to give a quick update on the 2021-2022 tax season. This is the first series of videos on the upcoming tax season. So please hit the subscribe and like button if this information is useful and you want to get more of these video updates. So today I'm really going to focus on the tax season, what's going to happen, likely going to see some of the same delays, and what you can do to get your tax refund faster if you're eligible for one. So it's not surprising that you've probably seen the news headlines in all the major publications that the IRS, which falls under the Treasury, has said again that, like 2021, there's going to be a lot of delays in their processing of tax refund payments. They still have a huge backlog from last year, and because of the pandemic, staffing shortages, and the budget that's been limited and not increased by Congress, the IRS is basically saying there's going to be a lot of changes when the tax filing season opens at the end of January. So this should not be a surprise to anyone. They're still planning to open January 24th, but they've already said ahead of time, due to the backlash that was there last season, that there will be delays, especially for those people that are claiming some of the newer credits require verification or just other issues. And I'll touch on that shortly. But expect that this tax season is going to be a lot of delays, and for those expecting refunds, especially big refunds this year, and I know the money is needed there could be delays in that. So plan ahead. You can make sure you can do everything you can do by filing an accurate tax return, but just expect that even if you do that, it could take a while. Filing early always helps as well, but IRS has to process its backlog. It'll get to the ones that are standard, and then eventually, hopefully, yours will be processed. But I think the big takeaway for me is that, while most people should be fine, they'll get it within the 21 days the IRS says it'll process and pay refunds. There could be a good percentage of people, unfortunately, those people that are probably getting a lot of those credits who need the money the most, that could see delays again. And I'll also touch on some folks that are still waiting for the last year's return to be processed. But, just giving a heads up that there could be delays this year, so get ahead of it as much as you can. So just to confirm, the tax season will begin on January 24th. The IRS has outlined, all what to expect. It could be delays. April 18th is the deadline because April 15th is Emancipation Day. I'll post a post here with a lot more dates when tax returns are due and how you can file extensions. But just keep in mind that you can start e-filing from Jan 24th. You could have mailed in your return by now, but the IRS will only start processing tax returns and then start paying refunds probably a week after that. And I have a whole article on the refund processing schedule, which I'll link down below. One of the comments from the IRS news release when they came out with the updates for this year's tax season was that they have acknowledged that, last year was poor. They know that it needs to be improved. Budgeting, staffing issues are the reasons, and they realize it's frustrating. So don't think that, your issues are you're alone. There's millions of people affected by you, and the IRS is aware of it. The Taxpayer Advocate Service is also aware of this, and they're all trying to get ahead of it, improving systems, trying to expedite things. But because of so much new legislation, so many new tax credits, the amount of verification needed, and the huge rise in fraud, there is going to be ongoing delays for those that have to do additional processing. One other comment I get a lot is, if you're still waiting for last year's tax return to be processed, maybe it was held up, there were some issues with it, you can still file your 2021 return so that you get any missing payments or your credits that are due to you. You don't necessarily need to wait, but the one caveat with that is, if you do have changes from your 2020 return that do affect your 2021, capital gain losses or claim credits, you had a dependent, you may have to do an amended return later on. So if you feel that your 2020 is fine, there's no changes, go ahead and file your 2021 early so that it can start processing on Jan 24th. But there's no dependency on those. But be expecting that if you do eventually get your 2020 back and there's changes, your 2021, you may need to make an adjustment. Again, the IRS has said that over 165 million returns received prior to April 2021 have been processed. Ones that do not have errors or required further processing, which was the bulk. But there's still over 6 million pending that need to be reviewed by the IRS. And they keep lowering this amount, but as new returns come in this tax season, I do expect that backlog to unfortunately increase. Again, what the IRS is telling us, and this is coming directly from the IRS website, is that these are probably some of the basic things you can do that can ensure that your refund is processed on time and you get paid appropriately. file electronically and with direct deposit. I'll put a link to some of the best electronic filers below. Use them if you can, but I think that'll help you sort of get ahead of delayed payments. Again, file electronically. Doing a paper return will just take a long time. It's more prone to errors. The electronic tax software checks for you, all those sort of things. So use that if possible. And if you also received an economic impact payment, i.e. a stimulus check last year, or one of those advanced child tax credits, you would have got a letter from the IRS to tell you what you were paid and how you were paid. So make sure you use that amount when you're filing your tax return, because if the IRS systems don't verify with the information you provide in your tax return, they'll be held up for manual verification, which will potentially delay your payment as well. So just make sure the numbers you report, your information is all accurate. Do it electronically because it has checks in there, and that should improve the odds that you'll get your refund paid on time and on schedule. So just to recap, I want to just, because I get this a lot, what are the most common reasons for refund delay, right? So there's probably three big reasons, and I've talked about it just now. Make sure your information is correct. Filing electronically is the best way because it does check the numbers. It is able to pull in some information. Incomplete information has to be manually checked by the IRS. It gets flagged if it doesn't add up because they get information from your employers or your people who pay you. They check the information you provide, and if it doesn't match, it gets flagged for additional reviews. If it has to be manually checked, the whole process can add weeks or months even to your information. So what you can control is get your information correct. What you can't control, which is really, the IRS, is sort of their backlog. They are processing it. They're trying to add more staff, but with the budget constraints, the pandemic staffing shortages, we're all seeing that everywhere we are today, there will be delays. So, don't plan that you need your refund payment to make ends meet. It's great to get, and, you deserve the money you get back. I would say you should always withhold more if you feel you're going to get a big refund, because you're giving a free loan to the IRS otherwise. But if your return contains earned income tax credit, the advanced child tax credits, or the stimulus check payments, make sure those amounts are correct. But those will delay payments. In fact, the earned income tax credit, you won't be paid before mid-February. That's actually a law that Congress passed a few years ago, that they need to do some more verifications that your dependents and the information you're claiming is correct. So those won't be passed at least until mid-February. So even if you file by Jan 24th, don't expect to get paid before the end of February, I'd say at the earliest. And then finally, because of all the fraud and security issues that have happened over the last year, whether it be stimulus checks or other payments, the IRS does institute a lot of fraud checking. So if your return is flagged, whether it was in the past or it just came up now, you will get a notice, and you could be fraud. It's not the same as an audit. If you're being audited in the past, it just means the IRS is going to look at your return more closely. Security is purely because something is being flagged through third party that they use to do security checks. So these are the three biggest reasons. There are other reasons that also do cause returns to be delayed, but sort of these are the big three that you should be aware of. And you can control probably the information you provide the most. The rest sort of is subject to IRS processing as well, and you can't do much about that. So if you do, have a lot of delays and you find that you can't get your refund, what can you do, right? Firstly, don't try and call the IRS, unless it's been 21 days or more since you've e-filed. And this is, they have to not just e-file through your software, but also the IRS status has to be accepted, right? So they've accepted your return, they're processing it, right? So if it's not been more than 21 days, if you call an agent, they're going to say call back in 21 days. WMR, where is my refund, or IRS to go, which is their mobile app to check your refund. That may tell you to call the IRS sooner because there could be some other fraudulent check or some bigger issue. Then you can contact the IRS if it's before 21 days. But check online, check your status. It'll probably not change, unless some significant status happens. There's only 3 statuses, and I'll post a link to, a detailed description of all the IRS refund statuses below. But normally, until it's been 21 days, you probably won't get much help on your refund payment. Do not file a second tax return. There's a difference between an amended return, but make sure your first return is processed before you file a subsequent one. And then if you enter the wrong bank information, you can call the IRS to stop the direct deposit, assuming it's not sent. There is a form 3911 you can use for that. Hopefully, again, please check your bank return information before you file your return to avoid this happening. And you can always call the IRS. The number is there, 800-829-1040. Weekdays between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. These waits can be 15 minutes to 2 hours. It just depends on the tax season and when you call them. It has been a challenge over the last year, but you will be required to verify identity if you call them. So have your last year's or the most recent year's tax return handy, because they will ask you that to make sure that it's not a fraudulent call. But this is some of the tips on contacting the IRS, and I will post a more detailed article at the end of this video as well for you to have a look at. If you cannot get through to an IRS agent, you can contact the Taxpayer Assistance Center. Every state has it. They are sort of a nonprofit funded through the IRS, but they can help you contact the IRS, help you with any complicated issues. You do need to book an appointment if you want to go see your local IRS office, the Taxpayer Assistance Center. Don't just rock up there, especially in the pandemic times. And there's a number here on the screen which you can have a look at to contact them, and also check on the irs.gov site for any local numbers as well. And again, like I said, the Taxpayer Advocate Service is a local organization that you can use to help resolve issues. They can't, but they need to also make sure the return has been filed with the IRS before they can help you. So they're a good organization to contact if you run into some complicated issues and you can't afford to get professional help. Hopefully that information was useful to you. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you want to get more videos and help this video go up the YouTube algorithm. Bye.